Good morning, everyone. Today we will look into chapter 1 from Amma Faruqi's book Early Social Formation. The book is very important for the history honors student as they have a subject of social and cultural patterns of ancient world part 1 in their semester 1, and especially for the DU students, the one who are studying in Delhi University. So in this chapter, I will not go line by line and explain you like a toddler, but I will give you a gist and a summary of each and every page, which will help you to make your understanding clear and further will help you to make your notes. So without any further ado, let's get started. The human species represent the most advanced stage of a long process of evolution which began with the formation of the earth nearly 4600 million years ago. Means the earth as a planet of life began around 4600 million years ago, and the earliest forms of animate matter means the presence of life on earth started around 3500 million years ago. But this doesn't mean that the process of evolution has come to an end. Evolution is a long going process. It is spread over very long time span, and it is not easily to comprehend the time span of evolutions. And human evolution takes place on basically two scales, biologically as well as culturally. But in this chapter, we will focus majorly on biological evolution of humans. Cultural, we will look at the other chapter. So, during the later half of the 19th century, theory that the human beings are the product of an evolutionary process first came into light. This revolutionary theory was given by Charles Darwin, and Darwin outlined this theory of evolution in his book The Origin of Species. Darwin's Origin of Species is considered as the most important and the earliest work on human evolution. Followed by Darwin's work, there were many significant developments in natural sciences during the 18th and 19th century. For instance, one was such in the classification of plants and animals, and it was made by an Swedish botanist Linnaeus, who made an important contribution to this classification. The classification on plants and animals was based on criteria which have been scientifically worked out requires grouping together of plants animals which share certain characteristics, thereby introducing some order in the available data. Following the Linnaeus, there was a French scientist known as Georges de Buffon who argued in his several volume work Natural History that natural world has changed over a period of time. Recently, there were two significant developments which further clear our concept of evolution. The developments were those in the field of geology as a scientific discipline and further in the study of fossils. Geology is the scientific study of the origin, structure, and composition of the earth, especially its rocks. Fossils are imprints of animals or plants which lived long ago preserved in rocks. So, fossils are basically rocks and tell us about the plants or any type of matter of life which lived around thousands or even millions of years ago. Chevalier de Lamarck, a French scientist, in his seven-volume work Natural History of Invertebrate Animals, point out that plants and animal species underwent change. The species were not fixed but could change from one generation to the next. Lamarck's understanding of these changes was, however, simplistic and scientifically incorrect. His understanding at times been confused with Darwin's extremely sophisticated theory of evolution. The main thesis which was propounded by Darwin in his book was that the species have evolved due to minor variation in individual members of species. The principle of heredity makes it possible for the offspring to inherit the variations. Now, 2 points to be borne in mind before understanding the survival. From one generation to the next, the variations were very small. And second, every variation must not be thought of as an improvement, which means that the Darwin's theory of natural selections is propounded by two of the points, and this should be borne in mind. First, that the variation was not very huge, like suppose the previous one was a chimpanzee and suddenly it changed into an ape. No, there was a very minute variation in each generation. And second, the variation must not be thought as an improvement. It does not necessarily a improvement in the gene of an individual. The variation cannot necessarily be an improvement in gene of an individual. According to Darwin, there was a process of natural selection, which means that the fittest among the all will be survive and will continue the process further on. According to Darwin, humans were as much a product of evolution as other living organisms. He developed his argument about human evolution in his later work, Descent of Man. In this, he said, we are not just descended from apes, but also from some of the most primitive life forms as well. We share a very essential feature, that is DNA. DNA or genes are the basis of life as we know it. These are molecular structures which are distinguished from molecules of non life forms of matter primarily by the ability to self replicate, that is, to make copies of themselves, and to transmit the instructions for further self replication to their copies, thereby setting in motion a continuous process of reproduction and evolution. So, DNA must be thought of as a vast storehouse of information which has been passed on to that organism in the process of evolution. The transmission of generic code takes place during the course of reproduction. The distinctive feature of DNA is that they are self replicating. The ability to reproduce is what defines living organism. Besides the living organism, no other organism can self replicate or can reproduce. So, it is an outstanding contribution in the field of science, the study of DNA. Now, according to a paleontologist, Stephen Jay Gould, Darwinian theory indicates very slow and gradual changes. So, according to him, while there were long periods when almost no change took place, there were short phases when there was a burst of evolutionary activity. Gould's argument is mainly derived from his interpretation of fossil evidence. Gould's main question was, what if there were any intermediate change? As there were no fossils found between the intermediate stage of human evolution. So, according to Gould, it is said that there was a no change during that intermediate phase only. Now, Richard Dawkins, an eminent geologist, has comprehensively refuted Gould's view. He has completed declined Gould's view of that there was a no intermediate change. According to him, Gould's argument emphasized that such burst of changes would initially make adaptation very unlikely for the group with different characteristics. Now, according to Richard Dawkins, there are many ways in which gap in fossil evidence can be explained. First of among them is a small group may have got separated from the main population and might have started evolving in isolation. And after they have evolved in their isolated state, they may have returned in their original location. So there can be a fossil differentiation and no fossil can be found of their intermediate stage. And for us to know of this intermediate stage of evolution, we should find the fossil of both the group. First, the original location group, and second, the group that got separated and evolved isolatedly. And without getting further evidence, we are still left with many big gaps of fossil evidence. So that's all. We will continue this chapter in our second video and it will help you as part by part. So thank you and keep studying.